So I'm making this open world RPG and the world is getting too big. You gotta run through these snowy fields, take a gondola, run through this incomplete, dodge some ducks and squirrels, and like that's a whole ass commute only to jump down the sewer and die. It's gonna get old real fast. So there is some fast travel already. Like I can craft a set of portals, and now when I wake up I can step outside and go straight to my training room. But you can only have 3 sets of these portals, so I put another one up in the mountains to access different materials, and maybe another one here since this is where I have all my crafting stuff set up. And it's by the town, so I can get quick access to the shop where I can wisely invest away all my life savings on upgrading my equipment. But there is another bigger limitation with these portals. If you read the fine print, you'll see that this shit is useless if you're trying to get out of the Lupos region. The shop in Piokou Town has items not available in Lupos Town, and Piokou Town is the entry to the sewer, so you're going to be coming down here pretty often. So, does that mean you gotta take that gondola down every time and dodge those ducks again? No, well, okay, if you're broke then yeah, but if not, then that's where the houses come in. You start the game off in this cabin in the snowy region of Lupos. No money, no bitch. The main source of money is from training and hunting elite monsters. So once you've saved up enough, you can buy yourself another house, which will create a connection between all your existing houses. It's kind of like all your houses share the same interior space, but depending on which door you exit out of will determine which region you end up in. So this is the original house in the Piokou region, but the location is kind of shit for early game because pretty much everything you need early on is in this town. So having this random ass house out here is kind of useless. So let's just move this shit over here to the residential area right inside of Piokou Town itself. So I always start with a very rough version just to get the general feeling for it. I actually have this paper sketch I did like a couple years ago. I drove by these apartments that I thought looked cute and thought they'd go well in this town. So I've been thinking about this area for a while, I guess. Yeah, it's shit kind of ugly. I think it's just too plain. Now when adding details, it might seem like a good idea to evenly spread details throughout the picture, but a better way is to have different areas with varied levels of details. So for example, there's these kind of plain areas, and then the details are kind of clustered within these areas. And this keeps the picture from being too confusing and overwhelming to look at while still having enough detail to be interesting. Okay, so at this point I'm just copying and pasting shit from the other houses, to be honest, because like, I mean, I already did it. I'm not gonna draw windows again for fun. I got other things to do, like animate this guy's clothes. This is the cheapest house in the game, so the inside is gonna be super basic, like it's just a room. Future houses might have some special features, like maybe a kitchen if I decide to expand on the cooking system. So you'd unlock new recipes by obtaining the house that comes with more advanced cooking equipment than what you have back at the starting house. So once you buy the house, this portal will appear on the wall of your current house, creating a seamless connection between the houses. You'll eventually be able to rearrange the orientation of your houses, but there's no point of doing that right now if there's just 2 houses. So buying a house is kind of a big deal, but it's not as hard as it sounds. Like if you can just beat up some ducks and avoid gambling away all your money, you can go talk to this sign and this guy pulls up and tries to sell you this shit. But like, bro, it's literally just a room, no bathroom, no kitchen, no bitches. But you accept and congratulations, you have a new home. Now you're probably looking at this like, damn, this guy is broke as empty ass, dusty ass apartment, probably sleeping on the floor and shit. Okay, look, I have an alpha to put out. Okay, there's clothes that need to be animated. I'll add furniture items in the future. It would be pretty cool though to have like different rare items that you can display in your house and customizable furniture. Also, there's only 1 pet right now, but when I add more pets, it'd be kind of cute if like they could just chill and wander around in your houses when you're not out forcing them to harvest mushrooms for you. Okay, so using these portals and houses, you can quickly go between different sections of the world, but you still need to do some walking to get to an elite monster or walking through a big town or something. So for that, you can just get on a bike. I've been temporarily using this old monster sprite as a bike for so long. The initial sketch is just meant to get the very general proportions of the bike. I had to mess around with this for a while because like this guy's body is so small and his limbs just would not reach anything. Like if I make the bike just a little bigger, now how are his legs supposed to reach the pedals unless I just make the bike like really wonky? So instead I just had to settle with like this tiny ass bike. So I did a quick okay, I don't know why this would even happen. A quick implementation just to see how it feels before I clean it up. And yeah, this thing is tiny, what the... And you might notice that the player very quickly changes into this tracksuit before getting on the bike. That's because if I were to actually make the clothing apply to the mount as well, I'd have to make a biking animation for every single visual equip in the game that I add, all for this stupid tiny bike. That's also why when you attack, the player transforms instead of having to animate every single equip for all possible attack animations. This just makes it so much easier to add new equip, since I just have like 4 running frames, 3 jumping frames, and a stand frame. So it was easier, but like it still takes forever to be honest. So when the player is displayed on screen, it's basically built up of a bunch of separate layers. Like literally every shadow on the body and hair and face is a separate sprite, which is really nice when I want to do something like the mount, because now I can just draw the head only and shift it around and then switch the whole body to just be the bike animation. So I've been working on this game for quite a while and it's almost time for the alpha version. You can wishlist Yuma Nest on Steam for when it eventually comes out on early access. So I've been doing a lot of testing to improve the gameplay for the alpha version of the game. A common issue that testers ran into is that there isn't really a reliable way to heal before a battle or going down the sewer. You can heal by killing enemies, which can drop food, and you can brew this healing tea, but you really don't want to have to do this every time before a boss battle. But this guy has a solution. Bro was just trying to run a restaurant business, but these ducks and lanterns and shit kept stealing the food, so he went bankrupt and all his workers just left. But now you can bring them back. These greedy ass mother, they just want money. So you can fund a food stand, and now it's back in business, and every day you can come eat some food from this stand for free to heal. Okay, now me personally, I would not eat whatever this guy is cooking up. I'm sorry. We gotta clean this guy up. Okay, I was really struggling to figure out how to cross his arms. His arms are so short, it's not even physically possible for him to cross his arms. I ended up just stretching the shit out of the arms to make it reach. Okay, now this guy could cook me up whatever he wants to make me. I'd eat that shit up. But what is he cooking up? Well, each stand costs a different amount to fund and then also heals a different amount. So I'm thinking each one is gonna have a different food item. Damn, this is actually looking kind of delicious. You're telling me this guy is cooking this shit? Oh my god. But I had to be careful though how I approached this. I started by cleaning up the simplest looking dishes and then working my way up because I was worried that the more complex ones might make things look inconsistent. So I tried to just like maintain the same simplicity between every dish. So I'd keep checking back on previous simpler ones and try to match that same level of detail. Now most NPCs in this game actually just use the exact same sprites as the player itself, which is really nice because then I can make NPCs run around and have an idle animation, and whatever cosmetics I create for an NPC can also be used on the player. But of course this guy is special, so I gotta animate him manually. But for a simple idle animation like this, I like to just select things and move them around and warp them, and then just clean up the lines as opposed to redrawing each frame individually. It's honestly just a lot easier and quicker this way. Also, each food stand is gonna have this sign that's gonna be custom based on the food item and the healing amount for that stand. So I made a quick font for the numbers, and now I can just type in whatever the healing amount is for that particular stand and it'll show up in game. So with all that done, I can pull up to a stand, get this guy back to work. Can I get a... And now I'm off to beat the shit out of some ducks. But how do I know where I'm going? How do I find my way to these ducks? Well, early on in the game, you meet this very friendly looking scout who illegally sells you a map of Lupos. And honestly, when you pull this shit up, you're gonna think that you just got scammed, cause like, what the f... And this whole section just looks kinda sus, like, so the game is now at the point where I'm pretty confident about the layout of this first region. I don't suspect that I'll need to add or remove rooms, so it's finally a good time to clean up the map. There's different ways I could represent this 2D world on a map. Because yeah, the world is 2D, but it's meant to give the illusion of a 3D world. So instead of rooms just being like blocks on top of each other, I like having a map that appears to be in a 3D space where each room is just represented with a dot. Okay, look, I know I already had to use the completed maps at the beginning of the video for demonstration purposes, but I'm just gonna hope that you forgot what it looks like by now. So to get started, I'm not drawing any of this with the intention of it being final, or even the general shape being anything like what I'm drawing. I'm basically just doing the first thing that comes to mind, just so that I have something down and then I can work off of that. And then based on this kind of rough estimate, I can now see what's working here and what's not, and just keep adjusting until it's what I want it to be. You know, there's also different types of maps, like there's the ones that are more abstract and just strictly informational, but there's also the ones that are more like a photograph of the actual place, which is what I'm doing here, like adding water and clouds and lighting and all that. And again, this may be less functional, but I feel like this is the only opportunity in the game to really give an overview of what the world looks like, and it makes it feel like you're actually exploring a real place. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this shit is looking kinda horrendous if I'm being honest. This took so long and it feels like it's only getting worse as I go on, just adding more and more to this mess. So at this point, I don't really see where it's going anymore, so it's easy to feel discouraged, like I'm wasting my time if it's not going anywhere. But I've gone through this process enough times to know that you just kinda have to trust and keep iterating over it, and somehow it always just comes together. Okay, at this point I am considering perspective, So trying to get everything laid out and feeling consistent. However, it's a very rough perspective. Like, I'm not actually trying to do things in a way where I'm perfectly mapping out the vanishing points and all that. I'm just trying to get an intuitive sense of the 3D space so I can just place things in a way that feels about right. You know, it's okay to give it like a little bit of wonky perspective sometimes. Like, as long as it looks close enough, I'm happy with it. And yeah, I just keep adjusting the perspective of things as I go, because with each new thing that I add, I get a better sense of the 3D space. So I'm really just going off the vibes here, to be honest. So of course, not every detail in the world makes it onto the map, but I'm adding these different landmarks to represent the most important locations. So for example, there's this village here in Lupos Forest. After sketching it a few times, I eventually realized that I'm making it way more detailed than even the main town, even though it's not meant to be as important. So in the end, I decided that simply using this sword as a landmark makes a lot more sense. It's just clean and simple and adds to the mystery of this location. And then doing that made me realize that the main town was way too detailed. So again, I simplified it down to just the dragon and the Luminite lab and some other little buildings and wall. I also try to make the landmarks on the map kind of like a simplified cartoony version of the real thing. So for example, for the stone giant in the mountain, you can see the proportions of his face are pretty different, where I really blow up the details. Now for the Piokou region, I'm just gonna use the world map I did a while ago and kind of just make it a grass field area with temporary lines. This area will still be changing a lot. It's not as developed yet, so I want to keep it rough for now and have the freedom to change things as I build it up. Now, sewer map. This is going to be completely different, and everything I've said about the overworld maps just doesn't apply here at all. So the sewer is more of an interconnected Metroidvania area, which does have more of a 2D feeling to it, with the rooms being literally on top and below each other. But there's a lot of big changes I want to make here in the sewer, so that'll just have to wait for next time. Anyways, please wishlist Yuma Nest on Steam and subscribe.